The Ireland squad's just in. Martin O'Neill's just announced it. Not sure if we can get it on the screen. If not, I'll have a little rattle through it. Goalkeepers: Randolph, Westwood, Colin Doyle, Kieran O'Hara, Ian Lawler, Conor O'Malley from Peterborough United. Defender: Seamus Coleman, Cyrus Christie, Matt Doherty, Alex Pearce, Richard Keogh, John Egan, Brentford, Shane Duffy, Kieran Clark, Declan Rice, Kevin Long, John O'Shea will obviously play his last game against the USA. Darragh Lenihan, Derek Williams from Blackburn, and the Stevens, Greg Cunningham from Preston North End. Midfield: Alan Judge, Conor Hourihane, Glenn Whelan, Jeff Hendrick, Harry Arthur, Ewan O'Kane, David Myler, Shawnee Williams from Millwall. Delighted for him. Absolutely delighted for him because he's had a superb season. He's been knocking on the door for quite a while now, so he deserves that. Alan Brown, again, sweep the Preston Player of the Year awards the other night, and deservedly so. He's had a superb season. Daryl Horgan, Callum O'Dowda, James McLean, Johnny Walters, who we obviously had on the show a few weeks ago, saying that he would be playing on, which is great news. Shane Long, Scott Hogan, Aidan O'Brien, Millwall, game time limited lately. Sean Maguire, Callum Robinson, interestingly, from Preston North End, who did say a couple of weeks ago, didn't he, that he was interested in declaring. And Graham Burke from Shamrock Rovers, that is a big call from Martin O'Neill, and great for the League of Ireland, because he was reluctant to put Shawnee Maguire in while he was still at Cork. He was in the periphery of it, but wasn't really until he went to Preston, where he got in properly and made an impact. So that's good news for the League of Ireland. Anything hit you there?
Well, the first thing, it is. Graham Burke is the one thing that hits you, mainly because it's Shamrock Rovers. I mean, you never, even in these extended squads, you never expect to see anybody from the League of Ireland. No. I mean, who was the last player who was actually playing for a League of Ireland club to be included in one of these
the finalised squads?
No, in the actual extended squad. Did Daryl Horgan get included before he...
Daryl Horgan and Shawnee Maguire possibly were in the extended ones, but I don't, to my knowledge, I'll stand to be corrected.
But it's still big news.
Huge news, and especially for a Rovers team who have been struggling a little bit. He has played 21s, I'm right in saying, hasn't he?
I think so, yeah. Because he was
2 caps for the 21s.
There was talk about him being involved in the squad, and yeah, he has played underage for Ireland as far as I'm aware. And I wonder, is this just almost kind of the final nail in the coffin for his League of Ireland career, that as soon as you're an outfield player and you're included you're straight over to England?
Well, I'm sure Stephen Bradley and the rest of the players might have something to say about that.
What sticks out to you from that? I mean, we're obviously just getting the first look at it, so it's kind of hard to form an opinion.
It's massive for a start. I don't know how many exactly is in it. Do we know, Tommy, how many was in that? There seems a hell of a lot of goalkeepers for a start. So
well, you mentioned Sean Williams a moment ago.
Must be planning a lot of five-a-sides. Shawnee Williams had a really good season at Millwall. They were so close to getting to the playoffs. They had a tough run in. Last 3 games were Middlesbrough, Fulham and Villa, I think, and just couldn't quite get there. They were behind Fulham. They were on the best unbeaten run in the Championship. I think it was 14, 15 games. So got clear of safety in and around January, February. And how many times have you seen a team just get towards mid-table safety, handbrake goes on, they're on beach mode? Wasn't the case with them. And him alongside George Saville in midfield. Sean Williams will be the more sitting, controlling midfielder. Look, Millwall play in a very direct fashion, but once the ball breaks, a commentator who I work with Sky said something in commentary during the game we covered a few weeks ago. When Sean Williams gets on the ball, everybody is in play because of his range of passing.
Right, okay.
His left foot is a wand. It really is a wand. So theoretically speaking, his style of play doesn't actually suit Millwall. But he's had to learn, I think, over the years that he's been there, to add that grit, determination, ugly, basic side of the game to his undoubted quality. So he came from MK Dons, came from Sporting Fingal initially to MK Dons as a midfielder, played a lot as a left-sided centre-half, but in an MK Dons team that plays football probably at its purest form, if you want to say like split centre-halves, he's allowed to step out. Went to Millwall, different kettle of fish.
So can we give him the deep line playmaker tag?
Yeah, I think so.
Obviously you know a lot about him, which is why we're talking about him, but is there enough of a stock there at the moment for him to actually be included in the final squad potentially?
Oh, I think so, because you've only got to look at the last game against Turkey where he played Alan Brown, Jeff Hendrick, and who was the third on the midfield?
Did O'Dowda start that day?
No. Oh, who was it? But basically, he played Alan Brown as the sitter, and it's not his game. Likewise, it's not Jeff Hendrick's game. So they were having to play in that holding role. At times, Jeff swapped to let Alan Brown get on his break. Conor Horan, thank you. That was the midfield three. None of them are particularly comfortable sitting, whereas Sean Williams has now played in a way very disciplined. So you look at that squad, him alongside Glenn Whelan, obviously, and Myler has obviously been one that has sat.
Will you play all three of them though?
No. I'm saying in terms of the sitters. They're the only ones that can sit in that whole squad. The rest of that midfield bunch.
He might play two of them though.
Could play two, yeah. Could play two. He deserves a crack. Like I was saying about Alan Brown in terms of the season he's had, the development. Sean Williams a lot older, obviously, than Alan Brown, but in terms of ability, he'll go into that training, no problem. Won't be fazed by the game, the aura. I've spoken to him on a few occasions when I've been at the game as well. Good lad, and hopefully he makes the final cut. Anything else strike you with that one? Could see Declan Rice in again, obviously. Look, it's similar-ish to the Turkish squad with a few additions. Conor O'Malley, Peterborough goalkeeper.
It's 41 players.
41. Well, that's going to get trimmed to 28.
28, I suppose, yeah.
Ish, something like that. So there's going to be some disappointed, obviously, but I think they're all used to that at this stage. There's probably 20 that know they're going to be in the squad. Where there's a couple of injuries, players carrying injuries. There's going to be playoff players as well involved in that. Obviously, Glenn Whelan, Richard Keogh, Darren Randolph, obviously at Middlesbrough, coming up against Glenn Whelan on Saturday. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, look, it's a chance for us to see where we're going. We asked Reedy about it, what he thought. And
it's the next squad, really, isn't it, when things get interesting? Then we kind of know the pecking order that Martin O'Neill is thinking of with regards to the players who have yet to be capped, for example. That's when we'll really find out. I mean, at this point, it's like Martin O'Neill is interested. You know, he hasn't quite committed to these players quite yet. But I guess whenever he does trim it down, it's going to be, we will know for sure, the likes of Graham Burke. Graham Burke, you would probably suspect, will be doing well to make that final squad.
Yeah, I'd say so. But look, it's great for him that he's even in the provisional squad. It'll give him a massive lift. Massive. So now he needs to use that as motivation, that look, if he doesn't make, look what's possible. Look where I can get to. The eyes are on me. Everybody's going to be looking at him now because he's been named that.
Yeah, look, I always am of the opinion when it comes to these friendlies that why not make a policy of having at least one League of Ireland player in the squad? I mean,
we spoke about it before. I'm not having this. I'm not having this idea because it shouldn't be set in stone. You should only be in it if you're good enough.
Fair enough. But if it comes down to a head-to-head and like you can easily sit back and say, oh well, the League of Ireland's going nowhere. I mean, the best players will always just go across the UK, and that will always be the case. That will never change. But why not just provide one little bit of a carrot? It's like, you know, you could be League of Ireland.
Earn it. You've got to earn it.
Of course you do. I mean,
caps like Smarties.
Graham Burke's earned it. I'm not saying to cap them. I'm saying to have them in around the final
squad. If they're
good
enough, absolutely have them part of it as an experience, but it shouldn't be set in stone, but there certainly should be, and I think there has been an openness to it now over the last couple of years.
It's got a bit
since
better.
Since Darrell Horgan, since Seanie McGuire, it's opened that. So the spotlight is certainly on the League of Ireland from an English club's perspective. Scouts over all the time, especially during the summer where there's not much football happening elsewhere in Europe. Bang, they're on it. And obviously Martin O'Neill, Roy Keane, etc., they're more open to it now than certainly when they were when they first took over.